This is CNN Breaking News.
Live from Atlanta, I'm Lynda Kinkade. This is One World. We begin with breaking news right now. Some of the biggest names in American politics are being dragged into the Epstein investigation. Bill and Hillary Clinton are among a large group of people who have been subpoenaed today by the House Oversight Committee as it looks into who knew what about Jeffrey Epstein's sex trafficking operation. The swath of subpoenas also includes 6 former U.S. Attorney Generals and 2 former FBI directors. The House committee also subpoenaed all the Department of Justice's records on Epstein. And sources tell CNN that the Trump administration is considering releasing audio files and transcripts from Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche's recent interview with Epstein associate Ghislaine Maxwell, who's currently serving 20 years behind bars. The White House has been trying for weeks to calm growing calls for more Epstein information. For more on all of this, I want to welcome former federal prosecutor Gene Rossi. Great to have you on the program. Thanks for joining us on what is this incredible news we're hearing right now. So you've got the former President Bill Clinton, former Secretary of State Hillary Clinton, and all these former top officials from the FBI and the DOJ. Speak to the significance of this moment.
Well, this is very historic and very significant. I do want to say a House Oversight Committee or any committee in Congress has broad powers to issue subpoenas. But this may be a bridge too far. You can't issue subpoenas if it's just a dragnet, a fishnet, and it's wholly unrelated to the purpose of your subpoena. So although this is making a big splash, I'm sure that the attorneys for all the people subpoenaed, including Bill and Hillary Clinton, are going to make a motion to quash civilly these subpoenas because they're not relevant or they're too broad. It'll be tied up in the courts probably for several months, in my view. But here's the punchline for me. The House Republicans are basically thumbing their nose at President Trump because he wants to put this fire out, no pun intended, given all the fires we have from Canada, but he wants to put this political fire out. And I think the issuance of this surfeit or plethora of subpoenas is just going to raise the thermometer so that in September, Lynda, you're going to have one heck of a floor fight on the release of the entire Epstein file with redactions of victims' names and of people alleged to have committed crimes to protect their constitutional rights. But you're going to see a Waterloo, I think, in September on the House floor to release the Epstein files in its entirety. I did want to say one thing. I noticed that no subpoena was issued to former U.S. Attorney Acosta and also the AUSAs, the federal prosecutors, who worked out this, what I think is an embarrassing and egregious plea deal with Jeffrey Epstein back in the day.
So talk to us, given that we're just now hearing about these subpoenas, about the process and the time frame, especially when it comes to gathering records and deposition.
Well, when you issue a subpoena, you have to give them a reasonable amount of time to comply with the subpoena if it seeks production of documents. And then the subpoena can also ask for testimony. If you make a motion to quash, you can quash the production of documents, the testimony, on the basis that it's too overbroad, it serves no legislative purpose, and it's just aimed to gather attention and to cause harassment. So that would be your basis in defeating the subpoena. If it runs its course in a civil avenue, then there could be a referral to the Department of Justice for criminal action.
So talk to us about the sort of moves that people like Bill Clinton and Hillary Clinton will be taking right now if they do indeed go down that path to quash this.
Well, the first thing I would do if I'm representing him, and I'm not, is I'd file a motion to quash. But first, I would try to negotiate with the House committee, with Chairman Comer's committee, to see if we can work out some tailoring of the subpoena or modification of the subpoena so there could be a voluntary disclosure or some type of accommodation. But short of that, you have to go into court. You have to move to quash the subpoena.
And of course, this is all part of a congressional probe that some lawmakers believe may show links to the current president, to President Donald Trump, and other top officials. Could this potentially all backfire? What are the risks?
Well, here's the thing. There are a lot of R's and a lot of D's, maybe independents, who may have their name cited in these files. And I don't care whether you're a Democrat or Republican or independent. If there's an allegation that you aided and abetted, condoned, or participated in Jeffrey Epstein's perversion, criminal perversion, then the American public probably should know about that. But once again, Lynda, you have to protect the victims at all costs. Always protect the victims. And you protect individuals' rights if allegations are made that are just over the top and unfounded. But if there is significant evidence that certain individuals, Democrats or Republicans, are up to no good, then the American public should know that. And forget the statute of limitations. The American public should know that, because this case was charged in 2019 in the Southern District of New York. And there's some debate, Lynda, there's some debate as to whether Jeffrey Epstein took his own life or there was a homicide.
Yeah.
Dr. Michael Baden says it's extremely unlikely that Jeffrey Epstein took his own life. And Dr. Michael Baden is a pretty good doctor with a lot of experience on forensic analysis.
Yeah, we certainly have heard the questions around that. I do want to just go back to the victims, though, because we have heard from victims advocates urging lawmakers to proceed cautiously with this process. They don't want them to relive the trauma of what they've been through. What legal rights do victims have when it comes to such high-profile congressional inquiries like this?
Well, victims have a legal right to contest a plea offer. And that goes back to 2008, where the victims were basically kept in the dark, and they went ahead with a plea offer that was incredibly embarrassing, in my view. But victims always have rights. They're not as fulsome as we would like. But if there's going to be a release of any documents from the Department of Justice, it behooves the attorneys in the Department of Justice to hear from the victims as to whether they want to let their name out there, whether they want their name out there even by a redaction, because people will put two and two together and figure out who it is. But the victims always have a right, even if it's not statutorily. Lynda, I got to say this, even if it's not statutorily, prosecutors should bend over backwards to protect the safety and the reputation of victims, because it takes a lot of courage to come forward, especially in a case like this.
Yeah, absolutely. Everything should be done to protect the victims in the midst of all this. Former federal prosecutor Gene Rossi, we appreciate you joining us for this breaking news. Bill Clinton, Hillary Clinton, many other top former senior law enforcement officials are now being subpoenaed over the Epstein investigation. We will continue to follow this throughout the hour. Thanks so much.